What is Seals Baldwin?
He's Seals. He's Baldwin. Yeah.
I've been kissed by a rose from the grave. Seals.
All right, quiet on set.
All right, this is Boardroom Buzz with Matt Brill. Take one, here we go.
Sessions with Matt Brill from Mr. Mister. Welcome to the Boardroom Buzz, Matt.
Thanks. It's good to be in the boardroom.
Absolutely. So Matt Brill is a founder of Mr. Mister. Here, co-founder. Yeah, we missing Ryan this week.
He's at the beach, I believe.
That's right. But a co-founder,
teleworking. He's not vacationing. He's teleworking.
Okay. Matt and Ryan founded Mr. Mister, which was a mosquito business back in, what year did you guys found Mr. Mister?
So originally 2012, Ryan came on in 2013.
Okay. And ultimately ended up selling it to Terminex in December of what?
No, February 1 of this year.
Right.
It was supposed to be December. Terminex made other plans.
Yes, they did. So you're, 4 or 5 months into this? How's it feel?
It's been a long time since I'd been an employee. There are pros and cons for sure.
Yeah.
I've never worked for a large company like this. There are pros and cons. All in all, we enjoy it. You know, the people we work with are really solid people, and most everybody there is really just trying to do their best. The pros of being an employee is, when one of our trucks rear ends or gets rear-ended and my GM calls me and I say, I'm super sorry to hear this. You should call Terminex right away.
Yeah.
Pro. Definite pro. The, cons is, like any large corporation, there's bureaucracy. And, sometimes to get, where Ryan and I and our team would make decisions like that.
Yep.
Right. I mean, if it was February 10th, we typically start spraying, the last week of February. If it's February 10th and it's warm outside, let's turn it on, let's spray, right? Let's go.
Yep.
It doesn't happen like that at a big company, and it can't. We understand that. But that's a piece that we're not used to. Benefits are great. My health insurance went from $1,600 to $336.
Right on.
But we really like it. It's been good.
Let's take a step back for a second. Now, you guys founded this business 2012, 2013. You grew it into literally one of the largest privately held mosquito control services businesses in the United States. And, when I personally look at that market, you've got a lot of the traditional companies are doing mosquito sprays. And then when you look at pure play mosquito businesses, you have a lot of the franchisors, right? Mosquito Squad, Mosquito Nix, Mosquito Joe. You guys were a kind of a standalone operation here in Georgia.
Yeah.
Employing, I think at your height, how many employees?
During the season, we've got 80 plus people.
Yep. So why did you, when you guys were growing this at a rapid clip? Again, one of the largest privately held mosquito control businesses in the United States.
Which we were shocked to find that out.
Yeah.
Truly shocked. And we did not, we knew we were doing a pretty good job. We had no idea about that.
No, you guys were just focused on the game.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So why did you decide to sell it in the first place? What
so it's a good question. And additionally, people frequently ask us, are you glad you sold? And yes, we are. So why did we sell? We look at, one of the first things you talked about is being the largest privately held, we don't assume because we've made a decision that is the right decision today, that it's the right decision tomorrow. So we always ask the questions again and again. Franchising was one of those decisions. And every time we asked, we went through the exercise of, is it the right decision? And it wasn't for us. When it came to selling the business, it was something that we knew was the end goal. We didn't know when it would be. And we were, having started domestically in 2013, it sounds very fancy when I say domestically, like we're some, global, but we'll get to that story later. So we'd only been in business during a strong economy, lots of disposable income.
Yep.
Everything was arrows going like this.
Yep.
And so we had no idea what the business would look like when the arrow pointed the other way. And so, looking at that, looking at, are there going to be regulatory changes coming up? So Mosquito right now in a lot of states is not heavily regulated, Georgia being one of them. It is regulated. You have to be licensed, but it's not regulated like pest control is. And so looking at that, looking at supply costs, looking at economy, we felt that we could handle any one of those things, reversing. The question is, if 2 or 3 of those things reversed, what does it do to our business? And we had no idea.
Yep.
And so we started looking, and we talked about Andrew Barrows. Andrew became a friend of mine through a process of selling. We had a small pest control we sold to him several years ago, and I asked him, who should I talk to? And he gave your name, and we'd gotten your emails. And
you weren't put off by those?
We called anyway. No, we weren't. And there's not that many bankers in this industry, right? So was there 3? And it's easy to talk to all 3.
Yep.
Actually, it's not, because one of them didn't call us back.
Okay.
And we felt that it was important to talk to somebody that knows the industry, that's respected in the industry, that has contacts in the industry, that's been doing this for a long time. And after having talked to a couple people, and we did talk to people outside the industry as well. And, I didn't want to hire somebody that had to get ramped up.
Yeah.
And clearly that's not the case with you. And so we reached out and had a conversation. And it was very clear that you were the guy for us. And, we became friends during the process. We're friends after the process. And I said earlier to Patrick, that's great. And it's always nice to have a new friend. But if your friend can't sell your business, then that defeats the purpose. The proof is in the pudding, right?
Right.
And so you gave us a range after kind of thinking on it and evaluating of where you thought the business would go. And that's where it went.
Yep.
And so, but because there'd been no pure play Mosquito transaction yet, we weren't sure.
Yeah. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Listen, I figured there would be tons of suitors. Ultimately, it came down to 2. We thought it was going to be 1 before either of those were in the picture, and they declined, which was shocking to us.
I remember.
Because we feel like it was a good deal. It would be a good deal for anyone who was going to be the one that had the gumption.
Yep.
To get it done, and they get us.
Well, I mean, let's talk a second about, you guys own that pest control business. It was a small one, and you sold it off to EPS. but you tried to really do something different with Mr. Mister. Now, not only were you were doing some misting systems, but the majority of your services was traditional mosquito back spray.
Yeah.
But there was something particular about the service protocols and how you guys did business or do business. It was very, very unique in the industry. And I'd love to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So a couple things. So Ryan, my partner, came from the mosquito industry. I did not. I was in financial services. And it's funny, my wife jokes. So when I got into the mosquito business, I for a very brief time, I was an Audi guy. For a very brief time, I had a BMW. Did not like it.
Okay.
And we got into the mosquito business, and I drove my BMW to the Toyota dealership and literally did a key swap for a Tacoma. And like the woman in financing was like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Like, are you trying to unsell me a car? Like, what are you doing?" And so I pulled up to the house in my new Tacoma, and my wife called my dad, and she was like, I married a guy that was in private equity and drove a Porsche, and and now I've got this guy who's in pest control, and he drives a pickup. And it was the happiest I'd ever been. Ryan and I came from this background of ultra high net worth individuals and, a different level of service. Ryan was my mosquito guy. That's how we met. So we moved into a house 14 years ago, needed a mosquito solution. I had no idea what the solutions were. I did my research. Ryan was with a company, and we hired them. They put in a mosquito system, and Ryan was the service guy. And like serviced me better than it was extraordinary. Now you ask him, he'll say I was such a pain in the ass customer. I'd call him on a Sunday and be like, "Dude, we're getting mosquito bites," and he would come over on Sunday and take care of it. So when we started the company, our commitment to service, we felt that we were, and we said this, we're a service company that offers mosquito control, right? And so it's the paradigm of service delivery is what we do, and it's what makes us unique. The chemicals that the vast majority of mosquito companies use last 21 days, not a day longer. But in a laboratory they might. Nobody lives in a laboratory. And so we scheduled service every 21 days. We have on property, the technician's supposed to show up, knock to announce that we're there, so nobody's outside in their underwear, or the dogs aren't outside or whatever. They do a walk around the property looking for issues. We put down mosquito bits, BTI, and then they do the treatment. And our guarantee and our callback policy was different from anybody else. So if you have a problem, you give us a call, free retreats. Doesn't matter how many you get. If you call us today, we'll be back tomorrow for a retreat. We run 7 days a week. Our motto is mosquitoes don't take the weekend off. Your mosquito company shouldn't either. And it really, and it showed. And, people were, our hope was to deliver something that nobody would ever expect from their bug man. And it's why we didn't like the pest control business. It's why we sold the pest company, because we really wanted to bring in somebody as a general manager that was not in pest control, which is a problem because you need a DCO. And so it's this, you can only have people that have been in it for for an extended period of time. And so trying to untrain people like that, it was very difficult. Where somebody called me like, "I got ants in my kitchen," and our GM be like, "All right, we'll be out in a few days." And like, what? No way. And so it just, we couldn't do it the same way that we could mosquito. And so that's why we had sold that business.
But given the fact that you guys were doing 7-day-a-week service with guaranteed 24-hour turnaround, a lot of times same-day turnaround, your pricing was substantially higher than the median of the market. So when we looked at your pricing, we looked at everyone else's pricing, and of course, it continues to commoditize, right? As more and more companies get into it. People are doing like $20 sprays now and ridiculous stuff. But your pricing versus everyone else was substantially higher.
Yeah.
I think in some cases 40, 50% higher.
Oh yeah.
So was it a particular sort of clientele that you guys were focused on? Particular types of neighborhoods or not so much?
No, not so much. And, I was telling Patrick the story earlier. So Andrew Barrows must have bought the list from PCT Online and sent out this mass email. Hey, we want to buy your company.
Okay.
We want to partner with you.
Yep.
Right.
That's
I'm like,
the code.
they want to partner with
yeah.
me. Oh, that sounds great. Very soft. So Ryan and I went and had breakfast about selling the pest company.
Yep.
And at the end of the breakfast, he was interested in the pest. At the end of the breakfast, I said, tell me about Mosquito. You guys buying mosquito companies? Is anybody buying mosquito companies? And he was like, no, nobody wants to buy $45 customers. I said, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Ours are $82 customers. And he almost fell out of his chair.
Yep.
So at that point, I knew that we were definitely doing something different. And listen, we sell against pest control companies and other mosquito companies all day and win. I mean, our close rate right now is 74%, I think. So 74% of every call we get, it becomes a customer and they stay. I mean, we lose 10 to 15% maybe. So when people come on, they stay on. And we've got a great referral program. So if you're a customer and you refer Patrick, you get a free treatment and he gets free treatment. People love that. Some people refer so many people, they get a free season. So it's a good deal. And it's something that, we talked about with, so Matt Bierbauer, who's at Terminex, he's a great guy. He runs their mosquito program. And he'll shoot me an email and ask questions because we do things differently than they do. And, so we talked about that. And his response was, so if they leave, do you charge them for the remainder of the contract? And I'm like, no, you don't. We reserve the right to charge them for the free treatment. If they get the free treatment and then quit, we'll go try and get that money. But you get 1-star reviews holding people hostage. And reviews are everything, right? And so, we've got over 900 5-star reviews and we focus on it and always did. And it is the personal touch. There are a couple reviews that I remember. Some guy left us a 4-star review. Talked about how awesome we were.
He probably never gives 5-star reviews.
That's exactly it. So I called him and I said, hey, thank you for taking the time to leave a review. So glad you're happy with the service and we're keeping you mosquito free. What can we do better to earn a 5th star? And he's like, well, I don't get 5 stars. I said, why? He's like, it would have to be something extraordinary to get 5 stars. So the next day I showed up at his house with a Mr. hat and a Mr. t-shirt. And I said, how's this for extraordinary?
No, not good enough.
No, he gave us the 5th star. And then we have another one. I remember we were at the high school football game. It's 8:00 on a Friday and I get an alert. Somebody left a 2-star review on Yelp. And I called the guy immediately and I was like, what's the problem? Tell me what's going on. I went out there the next day to do a yard evaluation. One of the things, mosquitoes love tires, right? So big time breeding habitat, protected, hold water. You rarely see that in our clients' yards. This dude had tires. There were tarps over stuff. There was refuse. It was, if I was a mosquito, I'd move into his yard and, explain to him, hey, listen, we'll come out every single day and give you a retreat. It's not going to help until we do this. And so he was so impressed that 1, I called him on a Friday night, and 2, I was out there Saturday, that he gave us 5 stars. And so that commitment to customer service is something that, and I personally, so I handled all those, had a really hard time delegating that and didn't really do it fully until last year. And still have a hard time. I know my team will handle it, but if I see anything less than a 5-star, and it doesn't happen often, we had a great one come in. This is an interesting one. So this fella leaves a 3-star review. And the review essentially, this is not word for word, said, they've kept me mosquito free for 3 years. We're doing a great job. I had some wasp nest, come in, in the yard, and my yard guy says mosquito misting should take care of it. So I called them and they said that they don't have the right chemicals. So I had to find somebody else.
Okay.
All right. So we're Mr. Mosquito Control, right? Not Mr. Wasp Control. And so I responded. My first response I deleted. My second response was, so glad that we've kept you mosquito free for 3 years. The products actually probably would work, but the application is totally different. We are licensed for mosquitoes. We focus on mosquitoes. We do it better than anybody else you're ever going to find. And we'd love to have you back as a customer and continue to keep you mosquito free.
Yep.
So we get stuff like that, but we always respond. And that's it. When you see companies that don't respond, they get a bad review and they just ignore it. They don't go away. And if you don't respond, then it leaves the customer, it's in their mind. The response is in their mind.
Yeah. I mean, do you respond to both positive and negative?
I think, yeah. So we thank thanks for taking the time. We appreciate your business, all that kind of stuff. And then longer stuff for, the few bad reviews that we've gotten.
When you think about, so mosquito control services are extremely high margin, especially if you get density. And they're clearly fantastic add-ons for some of the larger players in the industry. Were you not shocked as you went through this process to learn that, there are multi-billion-dollar publicly traded companies in the United States that, they do over $1 billion in pest control services and maybe do 8 or 9 million in mosquito control services?
It was shocking.
Shocking.
And it was also shocking as we sat in these rooms with very smart and capable people.
Yep.
And talked about our 20-day treatment schedule, that the reason they don't do that is because they can't do that because their technology, their software won't allow them to schedule 21 days.
So they have to do 30-day treatments.
And which are not effective and not, you don't gross as much over a season.
Yep.
And so there are simple things that can be done. Like, we're not rocket scientists. Like there's no secret sauce. Like when we were talking about the products that we use, it's not a secret sauce. We'll tell anybody what we use. We'll tell anybody how we do it.
Yep.
They can't do it. And so it's funny. I talked to my dad was at Home Depot and is of the generation that knowledge is power, right? And that you keep your information right here and you don't tell other people, because then they copy you. And I'm of the philosophy that I'll tell anybody how we do it. There truly is no secret sauce. I dare you to do it as well as us.
Yep.
You just can't. You don't have the commitment to do it. You don't have the resources to do it. You don't have whatever it takes to do it. But it's, I can read a recipe from the best chef in the world. I still suck at cooking. And so it's a very similar thing. And so while I may suck at cooking, I'm pretty decent at, marketing and getting customers to sign up for mosquito control.
Absolutely.
Well, going all the way back to when Ryan was your service technician with Mosquito, you were in customer service with high net worth individuals.
Yeah.
I don't even really know what that means. I think about walking into like high end nice stores like a Rolex store, or like maybe a Nordstrom's or something, or maybe even like a Disney experience.
Yes.
What does that do when you bring that into the service industry?
We have had customers leave us because, maybe the neighbor has a pool next door that is unused and it collects water. There's no circulation. And the other neighbor has an overgrown yard, and they're literal. And we have offered both neighbors free treatments to see if it'll impact this. And the neighbors will say, no, zero we can do, entirely out of our control. And the customer will leave a review that says their customer service is the best I've ever experienced. And because of my neighbors, there's just nothing that we can do. And so people recognize that, and the trick is, not the trick, but the challenge is to continue doing that, right, as you grow. So, Terminix having acquired us, and, when we grow to, 40,000 Mosquito customers, can we continue to offer that same level of service to 40,000 people? And the hope is yes. And so the level of customer service is just, having, so Ryan had left the company that I'd used for mosquito control and moved. Somebody else took his spot. And so if I had a problem and I called Ryan, he'd add another nozzle on my system here. Yep. He'd tweak something here, wouldn't charge. Because his philosophy and our philosophy is that you're not paying for a nozzle. You're not paying for a backpack spray. You're paying for mosquito control.
Yep.
And so whatever we have to do to make sure that the mosquitoes are controlled, not eliminated, because you can't ever give 100% relief, but you can make it where it's totally livable, where you can go out where you may have gotten 40 bites in an evening, like maybe you get one. And so so he left, and then I would call the new guy and he'd pop on a new nozzle or added something here and they'd charge me for it. And I'm like, don't nickel and dime me. I'm a customer. I've been a customer for a long time.
Yep.
And so what the customer service builds is loyalty, right? And we talked about this earlier. And so we put yard signs in every customer's yard.
Yep.
And it's not the little yard sign. It's like a political size yard sign.
Yep.
A few years ago, somebody posted on Facebook. It was when John Ossoff and somebody else running, not this last round, but before. And somebody posted on Facebook, somebody I didn't know, said, judging from yard signs this political season, pretty sure Mr. Mister is going to win.
Yep.
And because we blanket yard signs and people leave them up. Some people take them down. Some people get really mad and I want you to come get this, and we come get it.
Yep.
People leave them up, and you'll see yard signs that are weathered.
Yeah.
Like which annoys me because our guys should be replacing them, that have been up for years. And it's like, it's just loyalty.
How many yard signs do you think you put out in Atlanta per year?
So we order 15 to 20,000 maybe.
And you use all those?
Yeah.
But yeah, your yard signs are sharp and they are big, right?
Yeah.
They are the big, I've seen them. They're attractive. Every single acquirer had actually mentioned your yard signage,
yes,
right? Especially the ones down here who literally see it. I mean,
right, because Kim lives here.
Yep.
Kim Scott lives here, so she drives and sees our yard signs. The other local company, we
heavily service their neighborhoods. Of the
for sure.
Absolutely.
You'll appreciate this. So a friend of mine sent a message in saying, he's collecting all the yard signs that we put in his yard, and he's going to come put them in my front yard. So I texted him a picture of our warehouse with 20,000 yard signs, and I said, you will never win.
You're really kind of the marketing genius behind Mr.
I don't
Mister.
know about genius.
Well, what's a better word for that?
Expert?
Well, I would say
Prodigy.
genius. I'll give you an example of genius. So when we were going through the sell side process, I'm trying to run the M&A process. We're focused on numbers and this and coordinating things. And Matt's here in the background, and Ryan's pretty focused on the task. And Matt's sitting back there thinking, what can I do? So what does he do? He finds the home addresses of the executives for different acquirers, and then he sends his guys out to market heavily in the neighborhood. So when these presidents and CFOs drive home in the evening, in their neighborhood, the neighborhood is just littered with Mr. Mister signs, even to the extent that these guys went out and got billboards in strategic locations.
I heard about a digital billboard earlier.
Yeah. It's, So, so the marketing and the sales piece comes naturally for me. and I enjoy it. I am not a good manager. Ryan is an extraordinary manager, truly. I mean, like operationally, I don't know anybody more sound than he is.
Yep.
And it's just, we're very yin yang.
Absolutely.
And we stay in our lanes until we're asked by the other to come into the lane. Other than Ryan's a millennial, and he was always talking about we need to have an online sign up for people to be able to sign up and not have to talk to anybody. And I feel like if it was a service that was more commoditized and didn't have to do with pesticides in people's yards and spraying and, bees and dogs and cats and all this stuff, I would agree. We tried it. It didn't work. That was the only thing he would frequently
want an online sign up.
You want people to sign up without having to talk to somebody. And I felt like it does require some, people have questions typically, and we try it and, still.
I mean, to what extent, do you think the industry, whether mosquito control or pest control, will go that way at some point? Or no?
Yeah. I think pest control should. I mean, pest control's been around for decades. And when somebody calls Terminix to get rid of the ants in their kitchen, they don't have questions. The question is, how soon can you get here? And so I think for pest control, it makes all the sense in the world. There's still a ton of people that don't know mosquito control is an option.
Yep, I agree with that.
And, pest control, the days of hitting every baseboard with a metal B&G and your house smelling like chemical, and like there's still a couple of those folks out there. But for the most part, it's crack and crevice. It's, it's integrated pest management. And so there's less questions with us. There's a lot of questions. Is it gonna hurt my plants? Is my dog gonna be safe? Is the kids? And so there are questions that we have to answer. And it's more than just somebody reading an FAQ, which is what we tried with the online sign up.
Yep.
They want to hear somebody's voice, and they want to hear somebody that they feel like they can trust and is an authority saying the right answers. And so that's what we give them.
Yep.
On the 7-day work week.
Yes.
Because I drove a 10-minute drive from the coffee shop yesterday, turned the corner, and I saw the first wrapped Mr. It was a van. Then went down a block or two, saw a yard sign, went another few blocks, and saw another van.
All on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, yeah. I'm sure that I was like, well, the yard sign, that's a 24/7 thing, but two vans on a Sunday.
Hey, you can't get Chick-fil-A on a Sunday, but you can get mosquito control.
Oh, you cannot. Well, I tried to at the airport. I could not get
Did you
it.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Paul.
The Mex and I rolled in, and we thought we're going to get Chick-fil-A and CLT. It didn't happen.
No Jesus chicken on Sundays.
None. Forgot about that.
Every day of the week, every other day of the week, it is the best.
We did have barbecue though. So
where'd you go for barbecue?
We were at Charlotte at the airport.
Oh, you ate barbecue in the airport?
Well, no, we didn't have any other options. We were starving because we still live in a world where U.S. air carriers believe that, well, they're taking advantage of COVID, right? Where we're not going to serve you any food.
Right.
So, yeah.
Pretzels.
Yeah.
Pretzels and almonds.
So your 7-day work week question.
Yeah, sorry, we digress.
Yep.
Well, from a responsive, I love it. From an operational, how do you even pull that off? What's a work week schedule look like for a technician?
So technicians, it's either 5-2 or 4-3. Our senior technicians that come back year after year after year get the choice of days. And we have Jonathan and Eric in our office do all the scheduling. And it's, we use Pest Routes, which is a pretty decent CRM platform. relatively happy with them. And I mean, it's just a matter of staying on top of it. And, we talked earlier that if we have a technician show up at a house and he flags it as, can't treat because dogs in the yard or the landscapers are there, Jonathan or Eric see that and they plug in another stop. And so we keep our guys working. And it's how we are able to service so many customers.
Well, you don't see Saturday and Sunday as a weekend. It's just another business day. Right?
Correct.
I mean, that's just how they operate.
So even the call center, someone's answering the phones?
Yeah. So we've got 2 customer service people on weekends. We have a salesperson every day on the weekends. So it's a little slower because there's some municipalities locally that don't allow service providers to do their thing on Saturdays or Sundays, but the rest of the municipalities, it's fine. So it's just another work day.
Customer service, it's interesting, right? You're an outside only service provider,
Yep.
which I love, and just the volume you can do in a certain day. It's just a less touch, like knock the door. I think you took a break during COVID of knocking, but you're outside, you're able to get a lot more stops in. Customer service wise, what does that look like as far as what you're looking for when you're hiring technicians and just the number of technicians you had on the road?
So we do, what we call high velocity hiring because the mosquito season is compressed. And so we will hire the best candidates that we can. If they have issues, we coach them up. If we feel that we cannot coach them up in a relatively short period of time, we coach them out and backfill the position. Something we also do is, if we have full route booked out, we'll have backups come in the morning that we'll pay them for an hour or 2 in the event we get a no-show. Because if we get a no-show and the truck's down, there's a lot of money.
So you have a backup come in who sits there and then...
For an hour. Come in, work an hour, maybe 2, maybe there's something in the office you can do. But what would happen is we would have somebody call in for a no-show. If we're down 3 trucks and a truck is doing $1,500 a day, 1,000 to 1,500, like that's a problem.
So y'all in a warehouse with all, they park the trucks at night, right? And you're sharing these trucks on these varied work weeks.
So that is a challenge, right? So in pest control, John Pest Tech, that's his truck.
Yeah.
And he treats it like his truck, and it's cleaned like it's his truck, and it's taken care of like it's truck. Our guys, we had issues with that.
Okay.
And we had guys that it wasn't their truck. And, so we had to find solutions for that to make sure that they were held accountable for taking care of the vehicles.
And early on, you started misting systems, installing systems and servicing them. And I think over time you figured out it's a 21 day. I mean, there were even some 30 day in there, but you figured 21's a sweet spot, right?
Well, 30 days, if somebody calls in, we quote them at 21 days, and that's too much money for them. We offer a 30-day protocol, but we don't guarantee the last week. So if you have mosquitoes during that last week, you don't get a retreat.
Okay. Because
the products only work for 21 days.
And we're telling you that now.
We're telling you that ahead of time, very clear about it. So that's, we do have some 30s. We do very few one-times because for us, it's just not necessarily worth it. We charge more for them.
So is everyone on credit card or ACH or
85% are on credit card?
And you would take a check? They mail a check in?
Mail. Technicians don't handle payments at all.
Okay.
Which was something we found fascinating when we started our pest control company and talking to technicians. Like they were responsible for their own routing. They were responsible for collections. Like that seems crazy to me. Like, our technicians, all they have to do is learn how to treat mosquitoes as well as you possibly can and go do it and be nice to customers. Ryan's background was majority automated mosquito missing systems. It's a better solution, without question. They're more effective. Installed around your outdoor living areas. They go off 3 times a day. Comes with remote control. I mean, it's awesome.
And this is basically pumping out bifenthrin.
No, so permethrin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pyrethroid that those are pumping out. We use Sector in ours. The Sector lasts for a couple hours and then it's gone. So great solution, super effective. They're at least $3,500 up front and like $125 a month.
Okay.
So they're very expensive. And so as I was trying to get more leads, generate more leads for the systems, I'm like banging my head up against the wall. Like, how do I get more? How do I get more? How do I get more? And then we talked earlier, it was this moment where I was like, oh, I don't care if I sell any more systems. I want more customers, and let's let the customer decide what it is that they want.
Yep.
So, and for a system, somebody might see that and think, oh, I don't want a system. I don't want to install. So we didn't want to turn people off. So when we get them, we ask, we let the customer self-select. And, we might sell 60 or 70 systems in a year, and we, sell 1,900 backpack treatments.
Wow. It's on the truck, and I have been C2 vans, but it sounds like you really even went towards the small pickup truck.
Well, we do the Frontiers, although Terminix does Rangers.
Okay. But there's not much equipment if you're just going out.
No, backpack, there's a tank, yard signs, and a blower.
So why even use a truck then?
Because you want the as opposed to a van.
Or a car.
Well, you don't want to be in the car with the gas, there are vapors. It's one of the reasons we don't like the vans.
Yeah.
It's because you have to install the vents on the roof.
Seal it, yeah.
And it just it's not great. And those NV200s also, like if you hit a large bug, it totals the vehicle.
Large bug. Now out here they're pretty big, but I know it's a big billboard, so for you it's probably a hard decision.
No, because the trucks look great too. So once upon a time I was in advertising, and so I reached out to the friends that I made in advertising, who were some of the best creatives and copywriters that I'd ever been around. Really funny, and they do our stuff. Like we don't take ourselves seriously, and so neither does our marketing. And so like on the truck it says on our way to ruin a mosquito's day, or this vehicle gets 1 million mosquitoes per gallon, or so we try to be clever so that people remember it, and it's not like this stiff kind of we had one ad that was millions will die, and then small under that is millions of mosquitoes, that is. And so it really isn't, we just want to get people to remember us. And the marketing, so it's like a Waffle House patty melt, all right?
Okay.
Toast is good, right? A hamburger patty's good. Sauteed onions are good. Cheese is good. You put it all together and it's amazing, right? And so the marketing is the same. Direct mail's good. Billboards are good. Digital is good. But you put it all together and people see you in multiple places, and that's what gets it. And then they add the yard sign and the customer referrals, and it's just golden. And so we came up with a marketing formula that worked and was effective and is effective. And this year's been interesting. So our 21 new sales numbers, so revenue is still significantly higher than last year. New sales is off last year. Well, number of new leads, sales is still tracking very closely. I'm prone to panic. I mean, it's just kind of how I react to things as I panic. And so I panicked, and I'm talking to, our marketing folks, and we're digging into the numbers, and we're doing reports, and we're tweaking stuff on the website instead of, start now, it's get a quote. Maybe start now was too aggressive. Maybe.
Right.
let's change the variation of the orange. Let's, doing all this stuff. And, we got a couple more here and there. Then I called around to our peers in Mosquito, and everybody's seeing the same thing. And so my initiative then was to be down less than them, right?
Yeah, right.
So if they're off 50%, I want to be off 25.
Yep.
At the most.
Yep.
And it's worked. And so while the number of leads is off of last year and where we wanted this year, it's not as bad as our peers.
If you're just looking at pest control compared to mosquito control, is that client base typically a little more affluent, like disposable income?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, maybe. I mean, when we look at who we market to, we're marketing to home values of, 3.25 up, and 3.25 is lower than what I thought it'd be, or lower than what marketers that I've talked to thought it would be.
When you say lower, what do you mean by that?
Like they thought it'd be like 450, 500, but it's not.
Yeah.
People will spend. I mean, and once you get it, it's it's really remarkable. People like swear by it. And my favorites, somebody will call up and new customer, and we do a treatment, and they call back and they're like, you know what, we don't need it. We're not seeing any mosquitoes. Like, yeah, that's because we treat it. It's because you're doing something about it.
Yeah.
So you guys went, you started in 2012, which of course was like a stub year. 2013, you really started to get going.
Well, 12 is when we started in St. Martin.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about St. Martin. That's right.
Yeah.
Matt wanted to be an island mosquito guy.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
Sounded like a lot of fun. It was a terrible idea. And that's how I got into business with Ryan. Is we started in started the company in St. Martin, called Ryan, said, hey, you want to move down to the Caribbean and run a mosquito company? And he's like, yes. His fiance was like, no.
Yeah.
She was the smart one. We had so many issues. I mean, just so many issues. Like there was one time we went down for an install. It was for the systems.
Yep.
And like the guy that worked for us was like barefoot, and they're drinking beer at lunch. And I'm like, what are you doing? We're not here.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't get bank accounts. We had labor issues. I'm pretty sure I still own a Peugeot somewhere on the island of St. Martin that we used for the company. We literally sold it to a friend of ours for $1 just so we could close it.
Yep.
It was terrible. That was 2012. And 2013, Ryan called me in February and said he was leaving his company, wanted to start something in Atlanta. And I said, I've got a brand, we've got suppliers, let's roll.
Yep.
I lent the company money to buy a used Ford F-150, and we rolled March of 13.
Yep. And you guys continued to grow that business, which, had it been a reporting pest control company, definitely would have been on the PCT Top 100 from a revenue perspective. But you grew that through, like you were talking about earlier, your multi-phased marketing program. Mm-hmm. You guys did a ton of direct mail. Mm-hmm. A lot of folks don't do that. You made that work. You did a ton of these yard signs. A lot of folks don't do that. Made that work. And then on top of that, you had billboards. Of course, you were spending tens of thousands of dollars a month in online marketing.
Yep.
So anything else that you were doing that you felt was particularly unique from a marketing perspective?
We tried a lot of different stuff, and we did radio for 2 years and didn't get a great return on that. We do billboards. Mm-hmm. So we did a market study in 2018.
Yep.
Because at that point we were trying to figure out, do we open in a new market? What does the market here look like? And there's no data on it. Mm-hmm. You can buy global mosquito data, but there's no local mosquito data. And so we hired a guy named Andy Abend, who I've known forever, really smart marketer, data guy, came in and did some analysis for us. And what we found was that way more people in Atlanta would try or want mosquito control, and way fewer people know about us than we thought did.
Yep.
Which is great. So it was an awareness issue. So one of the best things for awareness are billboards. And so, we did billboards in 2018 or 2019. We did them again in 2020 and then quickly took them down in March because it looked like The Walking Dead and there wasn't a car on the road.
Yep.
And then we were back up this year. And I think billboards are effective for that purpose. And then this year, the new thing that we're trying is better online content, for YouTube. And I mean, more people watch their content on YouTube, and it's the second largest search now is YouTube. And so we've got some really good content on there that we're running. It's the mix of all of it and making sure that, my thing is, if somebody searches for mosquito control, I want to make sure they see us, and they do, whether it's through SEO, and we've done a good job at that, or paid search, and our reviews. And so if that's the case and they call and there's a 73% chance that we close them, I mean, that's a recipe for growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take me back to when you decided you built that over $300,000 pest control business.
Oh, you make it over 3,000, yeah.
Oh, over 300,000.
I know it was, but it was like it's tiny. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a couple routes in there.
Yeah.
But why the decision? You could grow that brand, grow pest control, grow mosquito control, right? Separate lanes. I know, I think you had the people who were separate.
Oh, they were totally separate companies. So it was called People's Pest Control. And the whole idea behind it, I had this, kind of great vision for the marketing, and, it was going to be pest control for the people with like this kind of Russian propaganda, like 1980 image poster. And then
it would have gone along well with Schindler's List.
Yeah, it would have been better than that until the first Trump campaign and the whole Russia thing.
Yeah.
And like my vision of this it would have been a great campaign, this Russian propaganda of pest control for the people with like the hammer and it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
It turned out not to be. So we didn't do that. But we wanted to start a pest control company modeled on the customer service that we offer at Mr. Mister. What we found is that it is much more difficult than we thought. There are a couple of things I thought were true that were not. I thought that 20 to 30% of our client base would switch over to us like that. What I learned is that people don't switch. Like something terrible, they either have to move or something terrible has to happen.
Meaning you thought that you'd be able to cross-sell your mosquito customer base pest control, and these guys are already using other pest control providers?
We weren't sure how many of them were, but the ones that were, we thought they like us so much they'll change. Well, Jeff has been our pest guy for 7 years. He knows the dogs. They're not, and these are my friends.
Yeah, right.
That weren't going to change.
Yep.
And so that was something that was unexpected. It was interesting. So Sanford Orkin is a friend, and I took him out to lunch and wanted to talk. And he's the one that sold to Rollins. And I wanted to pick his brain. He is the nicest guy. He and his wife are truly some of the loveliest people you'll ever meet. And so we're having lunch, and I said, Mr. Orkin, I'm going to start this pest control company. What can you tell me? And he said, Matt, listen, Rollins paid me a lot of money, and I signed a non-compete. and I just can't tell you much.
In 1964.
In 1964. That's how honest this guy is, right? He wouldn't talk to me about it. And he said, but he did say one thing. He said, you make sure you take care of your technicians, because if they leave, so do the customers. And that's really what it is, right?
Right.
So if Larry is one of my friends' pest guy, has been for 7 years, they're not going to change. If Larry leaves, they're going to change.
Yeah.
And so that was an issue for us. It was also, we went through 2 general managers, both of whom were capable people. It just wasn't, they couldn't wrap their mind around, hey, if somebody calls today because there's ants in their kitchen, get out there today or tomorrow.
Yep.
Well, that messes up the route, and that does this and that. And so that was foreign to us, and it's also something, so if somebody's using one of the pest control companies for mosquito control and they call on a Friday afternoon because they have mosquitoes, they're going to be out next Tuesday probably at best. Where if they call us on a Friday afternoon, we're out Saturday. So there was a gap there. We were at a point where we were either going to have to spend a lot more time and a lot more capital on the business or sell it.
And you were scaling the mosquito side of the business so much more rapidly. And so, what was the point, I guess, to focus on the pest control side? Or
Yeah, I mean, pest control, it really is, it wasn't for us, but it's a great business. And it's such a marketable business. I mean, if you want to start a business that you are the 100% chance that you can sell, pest control.
Yep.
I mean, you can sell it.
Yep.
Somebody will buy it. And, if they hire you, somebody will buy it for more than they thought they could sell it for.
Indeed.
And so my experience with the pest control business, I reached out, I called. It was me calling the pest company's M&A people. I didn't hire somebody to do it. So, we got what we thought was an okay price. I mean, we just wanted to
get rid of it.
And even if I had hired you at that point, and even if you got me 20% more, it wasn't.
Wouldn't have moved the needle.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is an interesting business and just ripe for acquisition. And it's the only way the strategics can grow.
Yeah.
And if you have a decent business that, you can do it.
Yeah.
On the employee side, roughly a 9-month season for you. So you're pulling back to management and leadership for about 3 months, ramping up. Sometime in February, you're back in service. What does that look like as far as how do you get that many people hired and trained? In 2-part question.
Yes.
Especially with what's going on with unemployment benefits. If that would, how much harder was it this year to get people back on?
So a couple years ago, we hired an in-house recruiter. They didn't have a recruiting background. It was just somebody that was their job to deal with the Indeed ads, to handle the calls, to interview the people. And that was very successful for us. So for a company our size, to have an in-house recruiter is not the norm. But because of what we need, it was important.
You needed a full-time recruiter.
Yes.
Right.
And so we are constantly hiring, constantly during the season. At no point do we turn it off, because if we get somebody that's really great, we can push out somebody that isn't. And that way we can always have the best that is available. We definitely got the calls, that people would say, hey, listen, as soon as my benefits run out, I'll call y'all back. And we would say, don't bother. The labor pool is shallower. Well, it was, right? I think at this point, the pool is probably a little deeper, but people are having fun in the pool.
Yeah, right.
So, or not, I don't know about fun, but or complacent maybe. And listen, it's a tough job. I mean, it's very physical. You're carrying a 60-pound backpack, 90+ degree weather, 200% humidity. And so it isn't, it takes a certain kind of person. But we do a pretty decent job of keeping those filled. And we essentially become a placement firm starting September. We start looking for other opportunities that are counter-cyclical to our business for our technicians. So we have a guy that has a Christmas light company. We offload some guys to him. We have contacts at FedEx and Amazon that we can offload people. So we're looking for counter-cyclical jobs that are ramping up as we're tapering down, and that taper down as we ramp up, which has been. And some of the guys are just fine not to. They just want to take a few months off.
I've got one last question that's on my mind, and I remember when we were running the M&A process, we had a lot of different discussions about pay plans for frontline employees. You guys had experimented with stuff over the years, and there's always these debates in the industry. I would love to hear your thoughts on paying frontline technicians.
So we paid hourly for a number of years, and we're getting a ton of time theft.
And by the way, working with you, that's the first time I'd actually heard that term.
It may or may not be a real term. I don't know, but that's what we call it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I use it all the time now.
Yeah.
I'm like, time's being stolen.
That is what it is. It is
right.
Time theft, right? So what we did was we changed our compensation plan for the technicians to a tiered plan that if they hit a certain amount of stops or a certain amount of revenue and had a callback rate below, we would randomly pick 5 technicians, blend their callback rate, and you had to be at or below that. And then I'm forgetting what the third thing is, but we would take that. And essentially, if you hit those, you can make $20 an hour. So we changed it to this plan. And we had guys prior to that, when they were getting paid hourly, they would clock in at 7:30 and they would clock out at like 5:30, and they would have done 8 stops. We changed this, and they would clock in at 7:30 and they would clock out at 3:30, having done 10 or 12. Effectively, not just rushing through them.
Yep.
And so time theft went away. Terminix being moved into a large company, it was tougher to do that. And the guys didn't always understand it, right? I mean, like the amount of time we spent explaining it to the guys that they thought we were trying to get one over on them.
Right.
And we never were. Like, we want to pay you $20 an hour. Do these 3 things and you get it. In 20 hours, I mean, that's a great rate, and it's more than anybody else was paying. It was tough for them to understand. They always thought we were trying to get one over on them.
Yep.
Having moved over to Terminix, we're back to hourly, but we're way more focused and keeping an eye on potential time theft. And we have to, we check it daily, and it's been okay. But it was just as a function. It was a function of moving into a large corporation that hadn't done that before.
Yeah. Well, they worry about wage and hour type issues.
As did we, right? I mean, so that was one of the things. So I would, I'm guessing that, companies our size, didn't have a labor attorney, and we do, right? Like, because we just do. And that's good business. And, if we have a labor question or a labor issue, we call Nicole. Nicole's our labor attorney.
Yep.
And so we would get the right answer. Like, we never, Ryan and I both always wanted to operate way above board. I mean, I don't want to put we pay our taxes. We don't run stuff through the business. Like it had to be pretty easy for you to do the sim because we literally ran when it was ours, no personal expenses through the business, none.
Yep.
Because I don't want to put my head on my pillow thinking, am I going to get caught? There's nothing to get caught for, right?
Yep.
And so, so for us, that wasn't an issue. And so it's been great. It's been great.
Well, we pay our technicians production commission.
Yeah.
So I probably haven't put much thought into hourly in this time theft component. Well, if someone's paying their technicians hourly, what does time theft look like? What signs?
So hourly is they clock in at 7:30, they clock out at 4:30, and they're just taking their time. They'll have done 8 stops. When now we know they can do 10 to 12. They're just dicking around. They go park in a parking lot and sit, and we track them.
Yeah.
And so if if you're paying say $15 an hour, and somebody steals 2 hours a day, and you multiply that out by 35 trucks, I mean, it gets really expensive.
Yeah.
So that was something we actually accounted for in the sim that you built.
I remember.
Was we had recently switched to this new compensation method, and we're saving, I don't know, 140 a year.
Well,
I think at least.
Yeah.
And so we explained that away in the sim.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it was, and the sim was good, and the sim that y'all built, we felt good putting our name on it. It wasn't fantastical. It wasn't like this, it was a legit image of the business. And in the process, so we were supposed to close 12:30 with Terminix of 20. And you remember what the date was that we had the call? Was it after Christmas?
It was Christmas Eve. I was in Turkey. I remember.
So it was Christmas Eve.
I arrived on Christmas Eve, and that's when it was.
We got a call from Paul, or no, not even.
From the Mexican.
Yeah. That Terminix needed to delay, that there was an issue that their diligence firm had found. And they had said that because of Terminix's size, ACA was going to play a role. Affordable Care Act was going to play a role. And they were going to have to offer benefits to all our technicians, which is not something we did. We provided benefits for full-time year-round people. So they pumped the brakes, and they were clearly very committed to getting to close. I mean, we weren't worried that the deal was going to blow up. And I think Paul and Franco were way more irritated and angry than Ryan and I were.
Yes.
In that they wanted to take some off the purchase price too, because they calculated a certain amount was going to have to be spent on benefits, and that would be taken out of EBITDA.
Yep.
And we were annoyed, and but still liked them, and felt that they were being honest with us. They didn't just make this up.
Yep.
It turned out that they were correct on the number, which I didn't think that they would be, but they were kind of right on the number. Still irritated. But yeah, I mean, we were bumping right up against it. Yeah. And the issue is, if you go past February 1st, our season starts. So once our season starts, we don't want to talk anymore until the end of the season, because we're about to grow a lot and you're going to pay more.
And it's just chaos.
Yeah.
The question back to, I had not thought about having an in-house recruiter until just a few months ago. this is the first I've heard of having like a labor lawyer. I don't know, on staff.
So
or
she's not on staff.
but on retainer.
Well, and I'm trying to remember if we had Nicole on retainer. I don't know if we ever on retainer, maybe. But like we have labor issues, right? So like hiring and firing, what's okay?
Hey, we messed up in our labor stuff.
I think the point of it's not necessarily they've engaged a law firm, and they have that law firm has a specific labor attorney who's basically on tap. So it's not like they're paying a monthly bill to have her on retainer, but they're engaged.
And listen, if Nicole has to answer a question, she doesn't charge us. If she has to do a document or give an opinion, then she does.
Yeah.
And she's fantastic. And we've had issues. I mean, we had a guy who hurt himself. And we came to find out that he had been shot before in the knee, but re-aggravated the injury on the job. So that's work comp.
Yep.
Well, how do we discover that in the future? Right? And so we needed her opinion on that. And we came up with ways to do that, which is
strip everyone down, check for gunshot wounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is not a problem in Georgia.
Right.
No, so we do a post-offer medical questionnaire. And, so we've already offered them the job.
Okay.
Which means we're not discriminating. Have them complete this. And if there's certain things that they check, then we have a conversation with, hey, we have serious concerns about your ability to carry a 60-pound backpack, and we don't want you to hurt yourself where you have problems later in life.
Yeah.
And so usually through those conversations, we're able to work through that. Which for us was important.
And it's extremely valuable piece of advice there.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And listen, firing people, like there's things that you got to do.
There's things you can't say.
There definitely are things that you can't say.
What other professionals would you recommend just to have access to?
So labor attorney. We have corporate counsel, a guy named Steve Lang, who's an attorney.
Steve's a great guy.
Great attorney.
I recommend him as an attorney.
Extraordinary thorough. So we do that. We have a bookkeeper. These are all, I say have, they're all hads.
Yep.
A bookkeeper. I was doing our bookkeeping and it would have been a disaster. On the marketing side, I work with people. I find specialists that help in certain areas. So Brooks Donner does our SEO and paid search, and Andy helps with our market research and strategy. We've got a firm called Liger Partners that helps with our social media. So, I'm a good generalist, but keeping up with these, like especially paid search and SEO, you have to know every single day what the changes are.
Yep.
And I don't, and I'm not going to. And so bringing in people, and we really don't have ego in it. I mean, like for us, it's, we just want to grow the business, give people gainful employment, have a good time, stay out of trouble.
Thank you for joining us in the boardroom, Matt.
Listen, thank you for having me. I haven't been in a boardroom since we were going through process.
That's true. You have not. It's good to be back on your home turf here in Georgia. Next time,
we'll have to get you some real barbecue, not airport barbecue.
I knew that when I said that,
as it came out of your mouth,
as somebody who literally is smoking something every day, right? I mean,
so yesterday I smoked eggplant. I made baba ganoush from scratch.
Yeah,
it's delicious. I should have brought you.
You should have. I like that. So, well, thank you.
Thanks, man. It's great being you.
You too, man. Thanks for having me, and I'm glad we can make this work. This was fun.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go snake my sewer lines now.
There you go.
There's your ending.
There you go.
You can't smoke pork.
All right. So I eat so much pork, I think chicken's the other white meat. My wife does not eat pork.
When I first heard about Paul, we had no idea how connected he was and that he was making most of the deals within the pest control industry, which is fascinating. The more I have got to know Paul and kind of researched Paul, the more you understand how imperative it is for the pest control market, talking about M&As. I remember my first encounter with Paul, and that was when one of the presentations that we made for one of the potential buyers. Very relaxed, obviously very familiar with the situation. And of course, you are nervous. I mean, you coming in as a CEO, director of sales, the CFO, and myself sitting presenting what you built to a potential buyer. Basically, when he describes what he has done in the past, what M&As he's been involved with, makes you feel at ease.
You and I were talking earlier about private equity, and I think typically private equity is talking to investment bankers, or there are groups of other advisors, other private equity guys. They live in that world. What took the direction to having a conversation with Paul and Potomac versus the normal exit?
You know, when you take in private equity, they're going to add value to your company, and then, you know, they sell you on. And they have a cluster of you know, companies and shareholders they work with. Paul was a unique person, somebody they have heard of. He knew so much more than they could have ever anticipated. This was something, you know, amazing to have him coming in and add value to the whole situation. Because I think otherwise we would have been most likely gone from one private equity company to another. And I think that's very common that happens if you're involved with private equity. You know, at the end of the day, it's how many potential clients can you get in the door when you're selling a company? If you get 5 or 10 potential clients bidding for something, obviously the most of the times I would say the more potential buyers you can get into the door to start a bid on your company, the better it is. And that's what we saw Paul doing. He added value in a lot of various ways. And one of them for sure being adding 5 more potential clients to the table. No, I couldn't envision this because we did, you know, the first kind of exit for us was in 2015 when taking into private equity. And we had, you know, some hysterical multiples on our EBITDA, you know, where we sold for. And I could never imagine that this could happen twice. This was the best thing for at least for the team, the No More team, that could happen, is to get Paul involved and having this outcome. I have to be honest, like, this was, you know, so much better than we had anticipated.